Planning Board to order, and we'll begin with the roll call.
Helen Jenkins? Here. Helen Jenkins is here. Andy Medford?
Here.
Andy Medford is here. Neva Hassanen? Here. Neva Hassanen is here. Michael Houlihan?
Here.
Michael Houlihan is here. Dudley Imprada? Dudley Imprada is absent. Jason Rice?
Here.
Jason Rice is here. Jamie Hoffman?
Here.
Jamie Hoffman is here. Stephanie Potts?
Here.
Stephanie Potts is here. Vince Caristo? Vince Caristo is absent. Peter Benson?
Here.
Peter Benson is here. John Newman?
Here.
John Newman is here. And we have 7 regular members and 1 alternate present, but there's no county members absent, so the county alternate will not be voting this evening. And we do have a quorum.
Okay, thanks. I'll move on to approval of the minutes from the August 21st, 2018 meeting. Anybody have any changes to those? Okay. Motion from Jason. Do we have a second? Second from Stephanie. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, seeing none, the motion passes and the minutes are approved. Move on to public comment on items not on tonight's agenda. Any comment to fit that bill? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to staff comments. Mary, Andrew, any staff comments? Okay, on to public hearings, and tonight we have a city rezone at 819 Stoddard Avenue, and the rezoning proposal is from OP3 to RM1-45, presented by Development Services. Andrew, take it away.
Awesome. Good evening. My name is Andrew Bond, Development Services. This is a request from the Missoula Housing Authority to rezone 819 Stoddard Street from OP3 Public Lands and Institution to RM145 Residential Multi-Dwelling. The rezoning will result in city standard zoning, which cannot be conditioned. This is the location of the property located on Stoddard Street between Dickens Street and West Milton. It is located within City Ward 1 and Northside Neighborhood Council. Here's a clearer view of the property outlined in red. The property currently houses 1 structure. The area surrounding it contains single, multi-dwelling, duplexes, etc., for residential building types. The growth policy designation is residential high, which allows for upwards of 24 dwelling units per acre. The zoning districts closely aligned with RM145 are RM145, RM135, 1.5, and 0.5. The applicant is requesting RM145, which allows upwards of 24 units per acre, which aligns with the growth policy. The area is closer to the core, which aligns with the residential high growth policy. The growth policy emphasizes focus on word, which is the approach to development, which denser development is located closer to the core. The factors that take into consideration for that are the existing infrastructure, including roads, sidewalks, water, sewer, and city services such as multimodal transportation, the proximity to schools and shopping, and is centrally located in the urban core. The location meets all these criteria. This slide shows the current zoning of the parcel and the surrounding areas. As you can see, the property is zoned OP3, which is an island within the RM145 zoning district in that area. OP3 does not allow for residential uses. The RM145 for this site would allow for upwards of 7 units. As you can see on this map, this was the city zoning map from 1932. The original zoning in that time was B, residential, which closely aligns with the multi-dwelling standard. When transitioned from that current zoning to Title 19, it would have went to a standard zoning, and during 1982, that property requested to be rezoned to P2 at the time of Title 19, which is public lands and institutions. After the transition from Title 19 to Title 20, it was also known as OP3, public lands and institutions. Here's some view of the existing site as it is today. The applicant states that the existing structure will be remodeled into a single dwelling unit. Now we look at the zoning map, zoning amendment criteria. These criteria address whether the proposed changes of the zoning is in accordance with the growth policy. Factors to consider are the transportation facilities located nearby. Is it compatible with urban growth? Does it promote public health and safety? And is it similar to the zoning that's currently present in that area? The proposed zoning complies with the goals and objectives of the growth policy and comes closer to accomplishing the designation of that growth policy in that area. The rezoning promotes a compatible urban growth, which is better implementing the focus inward, which promotes higher density within the core. The rezone is compatible with the current development trends within that area and what we see today. The existing public services, the police, fire, emergency services, water, sewer, and the proximity to schools, parks, and the Missoula Trail and Mountain Lion transportation systems are factors within that area. And the rezone gives reasonable consideration to the character of the district and the suitability of the uses that are similar to the surrounding places. In conclusion, staff recommends the approval of the request to rezone 819 Stoddard Street from OP3 Public Lands and Institutions to RM 145 Residential Multi-Dwelling based on the findings of facts outlined in the staff report. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Andrew. Is the applicant present, and would the applicant wish to speak on behalf of the project? All right, if you would, sir, just come on up and feel free to take a seat and just state your name for the record. If it's difficult to spell, go ahead and spell it.
Certainly.
Thanks.
Good evening, members of the review board. My name is Carl Pare, first name K-A-R-L, last name P-A-R-E, accent Egu over the E.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah, and I'm here representing the Missoula Housing Authority, and we have had this piece of property for a while, and we had many iterations of its use during the times under the OP3, and now it's been sitting vacant for a while. It had been housing some staff for a while when we were bulging at the seams at our office, and now we're looking to turn it into a two-bedroom home and make it affordable, which I think the city needs more affordable housing. So we're really excited that the Development Services has approved this application, and we kind of think it's just a real kind of walk in the park decision for you folks too, so I hope you feel that way.
Okay, thanks much.
Thank you. Do you have any questions?
Possibly. We'll finish up the public hearing, and then if anybody has any questions, we'll probably call you back up.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I appreciate your time.
Yeah. Any public comment on this particular item? Lone member of the public? No? Okay. All right, we will close the public hearing then and open it up to questions from members of the board if there are any. Yeah, Helen.
So, Andrew, can you speak to the applicant's interest in keeping the facade of the building? There was mention of that in the staff report, and can you speak to that a little bit more?
From what he was kind of discussed, it's more or less the remodeling of the interior. No plans or any ideas have been proposed for the exterior of the building, which leads me to believe that the exterior will remain the same as it currently is today, but the interior will be retrofitted to meet the needs of a residential unit and building code within the state of Montana.
Absolutely.
Follow-up question. I understand that the zoning cannot be conditioned, but this house specifically has historical value for the city. Would a condition of approval, can we add a condition of approval for preserving the facade?
Let me look to Mary just to see.
Mary McCrae with Development Services. Because it's a standard zoning district and that's what you're approving, you can't condition the zoning itself. So you could not add a condition. However, they have talked about kind of restoring and keeping it as it is. It could be, MHA could choose to list it, and if it was listed on the register, National Register, that would give it some protections there.
Yeah, Neva.
I had a question. I'm not quite sure who to direct it to. Just to be clear, so is that because of the or why wouldn't you make it a multi-dwelling unit? Or you're just proposing it would be a single-family, two-bedroom?
If you would come on up, sir, sorry to.
Because
make
it
you run
looks
back
like
forth.
the zoning you're requesting would allow up to 7 dwelling units on that. I'm not saying that's what you should do, but I'm just curious about how you thought about that, sir?
Now, I'm in no position to speak as to what we will be developing in the future.
I see.
But I would be encouraged and pleased with that information, as we would want to provide as much affordable housing in Missoula as we possibly can. As far as budgets and work and to expedite and really get an affordable housing project on and done on the ground, it would be essentially what we need to do is connect to the city sewer and put in a shower in the bathroom and then add some closets to make the bedrooms compliant. And so that really would get us a 2-bedroom affordable single-family dwelling on the north side right away. And that's something we think we could probably get done maybe by Christmas if we, depending on the approvals or whatever, getting work done right away. That's ambitious, of course.
And so, I'm sorry if you said this already, so would it be rented or you would sell it?
We would rent it. We would not sell it.
I'm sorry?
We would not sell it. We would
Okay.
rent it and own it for the foreseeable future.
And so there could be the potential that you would add additional dwelling units given the zoning that's being requested?
I can't predict the future, but that would be great.
Theoretically.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what's being, and because you chose that to rezone it to. Okay, I see. Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Thank
It
you.
sounds like a good project.
John,
Yeah, Jamie.
I'm really familiar with the property. I've been on the Housing Authority Board for 15 or 16 years, so I know it well. The NMCDC had offices in there, I bet, for at least a dozen years, and I was there often for their meetings in various capacities. It was originally a 2-bedroom house, so with minimal investment, we will return it to what it once was. And that's the authority's desire is to get another subsidized unit back in the inventory. And who knows what's going to happen in the future. I don't think anything would happen soon. I think as a board chair, I really appreciate the architecture of the building. It was, the stonework is very cool and very unique and traditional and historic. It was done by a man named Belusi. He had 2 sons, both of whom were engineers, and I worked with one of them. And so this was in the 1920s or 30s, it was probably built, but it's really a fine example of stonework. So I don't see that changing anytime soon. But we are loath to dispose of properties because they're so hard to find, especially ones that are closer in. So it'll be a 2-bedroom home for a long time, below market rental for income qualified people. As I am on the board of the Housing Authority, it occurs to me to wonder whether there might be some reason to think that I have a conflict of interest. I can't imagine what that argument might be, what it would look like, but I just want to state that and don't want to cause a problem for this board or anyone who might examine my participation in a vote. So I don't know, maybe if this board is going to, and I see lots of nodding, this seems pretty simple, I would just recuse myself to avoid any issue in the hopes that it passes. So that's what I will do unless advised otherwise.
I think that's probably the safe course of action. Thanks for bringing that to our attention here today, Jamie.
Thanks for
Appreciate
the
it.
history, Jamie. I think I've been in that building. I hadn't realized it.
Additional questions? Peter and then Andy?
I share Helen's concern of preserving the building itself. And I'm also just slightly concerned that the footprint of the plot looks like it fits this building. I would hate to see other things just get stuffed into that lot. And then have the building torn down and something else put up. Do we have any? I'm not looking for a guarantee,
I would certainly think so. Absolutely, yeah. It's a great little building. We love it. And the family who is related to the original builders recently had a birthday party there. You know, it's definitely a cool little place, and we would do our best to preserve it for as long as we possibly can and incorporate it into a new structure if possible. And no, it'll be a slam dunk. It's just some easy stuff inside and connecting to the sewer, and so, yep.
It's
Thank
not
you.
connected to the sewer.
Andy, just still have a question, or?
I had one question, and I think I answered my second one, but how did it get zoned OP3, like in the middle of this 145? Maybe I missed that in the history, but it seems like definitely an island that maybe I just missed.
Is your microphone on, Mr. Perry? Just to check. See that green light?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I'm
Okay.
not close enough to it, I guess. The adjacent property was acquired in creating public housing for Missoula when the Housing Authority was established. And so the two adjacent triplexes are public housing. That's, you know, the original subsidized affordable housing back in the 30s. And the small stone house was at the time deemed more appropriate to have as a community center. And a lot of public housing, you know, you'll see something like when I visited the New Orleans Housing Authority, their community centers have movie theaters and, you know, entire youth education, preschool, and I mean, a lot of stuff that comes with and has funding for these programs. And I'm sure the building was used originally in some form for that. And then as it turned into things like offices for the North Missoula Community Development Corporation and things like that. So that's how it became what it was. It was requested to be a community center, and so that's how that happened.
Any other questions? Comments? Okay, seeing none, does anyone care to make a motion?
I guess I'll move to approve the rezone of the 819 Stoddard Avenue home from OP3 to RM1-45.
And I assume that's based on the findings of fact in the staff
Findings of
report.
fact in the staff report. Thank you.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Motion from Helen, seconded by Jason. Any additional comment or discussion on the motion? Yeah?
Oh, sorry.
No, my fault, sorry.
Well, I just wanted to personally encourage the Housing Authority to be really conscious of future use of this building specifically. I understand that you want to renovate it and use it as affordable housing. That's awesome. But in the future, you may want to sell it, at which point then this building becomes unprotected and uncared for potentially, and potentially demolished. And I would personally like to encourage you and the Housing Authority to treasure our treasure.
Additional discussion on the motion? Okay, seeing none, we'll take a vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, no opposed. Any abstentions? One abstention for Mr. Hoffman. Okay, the motion passes. Thanks, guys. Appreciate the presentation and the information.
Thank you very much. We will keep your interest in mind and do our best work. Thank you very much.
Good luck. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay. Next item, communications and special presentations. I am aware of none. Committee reports. I don't have anything to report. Dudley's not here. Okay.
Actually, I'll wait.
Okay. Old business? No old business? New business and referrals? Comments from planning board members? Okay.
All right. Magic words. No, I just, while I totally supported, again, this rezone, it reminded me, again, that we had kind of hoped that the city would embark on some area rezoning. I don't know, and I certainly hope that the fees associated with rezoning would not apply to the Missoula Housing Authority. Is that correct, Mary? Because then you really think, oh boy, if the housing authority has to pay these fees for rezoning, that seems not a good idea.
Yeah, the development services cannot waive the fees. They could request to have the fees waived by the city council, and they chose not to. They paid the fees.
Okay. So the housing authority chose not to. They felt like they could do it. Mary, do you know, if I may,
Of course.
whether or not there are plans afoot in your office to do more area-wide rezoning to update it with the growth policy?
They're currently working on the design excellence plan, and that should be coming forward to planning board here this fall. And that will be overlays, on the corridors. And following that big project, they've already started working on the SD2 zoning. So that'll be the next area that they'll start the public process, and it'll be a pretty big public outreach process. So that'll take some time getting that one through. And I don't know that there are any other neighborhoods proposed beyond that.
Okay.
SD2
Yeah.
along Reserve Street,
Yes.
near Rose Hours, kind of, that direction?
It
Between
starts
Third
kind
and-
of, it's just north of South Avenue, and it
Okay.
goes up to close to Third Street. There's some parcels. And then there's one, I think there's a little outlier so it'd be all of the city SD2. And it goes as far north, I think, as River Road. There's a parcel up near there.
Thanks, Mary.
Any other comments from planning board members? Okay, seeing none, we'll adjourn. Thanks, guys.
You're great.